Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing my January reading wrap up. I read, I think 14 books, but I did DNF one, so 13. I will put the number right here. It was a good reading month for me. Not a lot of 5 stars, unfortunately. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The first book that I read is One by One by Frida McFadden. I enjoyed this. I gave it a 4.25 stars. I think it was good, but there was a point towards the middle where I was kind of like, okay, this plot is dragging out a little bit. Without giving too much away, basically what this book is about is this group of friends. I believe they're friends. Some of them are friends, some of them don't know each other, because it's like spouses and things like that. So a group of friends and their spouses go on a little trip together, a little getaway. On the way there, their car breaks down, and so they kind of have to go search for help, and they're wandering through the woods. Their compass isn't really working. They don't have a lot of food. There's no cell service. Just the basic average thriller plot. And then slowly, one by one, they start to die. So people are getting killed off. And so our main character that we're following is kind of like, what is going on? Someone is out to get us. Like, what is actually happening? And so you as the reader are trying to figure out who is involved, who is killing these people, and also who's going to make it out alive. It was very interesting. I did predict part of the twist. The twist kind of has 2 parts, and I predicted one part of it, but not all of it. I just thought it was really interesting and cool. Then I read The Launch Date by Annabelle Slater, which I read this on NetGalley. It was super cute, silly little book. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars because it was good. Like, it was just your average everyday rom-com. There wasn't anything that really stuck out to me. It's a rivals to lovers kind of workplace romance. Also, if I'm looking down, it's because I'm referencing my notes because I have little notes in front of me. But yeah, I just felt like the conflicts at some points were a little bit forced and a little bit like hard to believe. But I did enjoy this. Basically, this is about 2 work rivals who work for rival dating companies, and then they're tasked with creating a brand new dating app or dating feature. I think it's like a feature that like combines both the apps in a way. And they're asked to like be the head of marketing for this particular app, and whoever does better gets a promotion at their respective jobs. And so they're sort of test running these jobs, going on these fake dates together. And it's really interesting. I definitely would read it again. Like, I feel like it's one of those books that I have to reread in order to truly appreciate it. But I really liked this. It was cute and sweet. I recommend if you love a good workplace romance, if you love a good rivals to lovers, if you love a little fake dating, perfect book for you. Then I read my first nonfiction of the year because that is one of my goals of the year. I listened to the audiobook of Sociopath by Patrick Gagna. I think I'm saying that right. I hope I'm saying that right. I gave this a 3 stars. I thought the writing was really good, and it was very easy to follow, like, chronologic wise. For me, I think it was the subject matter that was a little bit hard for me to get through. And I hate saying this because, like, this is someone's true lived story. And so I would never want to hinder someone's voice on their true story. So what I will say is that just the subject matter itself wasn't something that I was super duper interested in. And so I think that there was moments while I was listening where I would zone out or just kind of be lost. But I'm not saying that to sort of hinder Patrick's story. I think it's a very powerful story. I think it's a very important story for people to hear. There was just moments where there was some disconnect for me, and that's okay. And so I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read Run on Red by Noelle W. Eiley. I have no idea how to pronounce that name. This was a thriller. I gave this a 1 out of 5 stars. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people really like this thriller author. To me, this felt like it was a thriller book that was written on Wattpad. Like, the writing was just very straightforward, surface level. The story itself was so predictable. I predicted both of the major plot twists, and the plot just ended up being so redundant to the point where I was like, they need to just wrap this up already because it's been going on for so long. But basically, the plot of this is these 2 girls are on their way to a party, and then this car starts chasing them. And so eventually they're it's a foot race. It's no longer a car chase. I don't remember a lot of it because I blocked kind of it out of my brain because I didn't like it. Turns into a foot race at the end, and then they get stuck in this house and like secrets kind of unfold from there. I just wasn't a fan. Like, as someone who's read a lot of thrillers, this was just such a disappointment for me. It was predictable, and I wish I DNF'd it. Not my fave. Okay, then I read The Perfect Rom-Com by Melissa Ferguson. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I think the things it did well was the banter. The banter was perfect. It was funny. It was hilarious. I loved how it was just about the publishing industry. I love books about writers and books themselves. And I just thought that the romance was just super cute and fun. The one thing that was off for me was the pacing. There's sort of this moment at the beginning of the story where you think, oh, this is going to be an enemies to lovers book. And then there's this random time skip, and then they're friends. And then it turns into a friends to lovers. And I just thought that that was very odd. Like, that was an odd choice, and we didn't really see what made them stop disliking each other. But also, this is an arc of a book. Like, I read this on NetGalley, so I don't know if this is the final version or not. But I found that a little bit off-putting. But I still did think it was really cute, and I really enjoyed it. You're basically following our main character, who's a writer, and the male love interest is a literary agent. And our main character has been trying to get her dream book published for so long. And he's basically like, I don't really like this, but we're going to hire you on as a ghostwriter for this really popular author. And so she works as a ghostwriter, and then her work just becomes underappreciated. And so it's her just trying to live with that. It's a really interesting book. It's just that one pacing thing that kind of threw me off, which is why I gave it 4 stars. Then I read The Memory Ward by John Bassoff. This was also on NetGalley. I was having a field day with NetGalley books this particular month. I gave this a 4.5. Solid thriller. I think if you love The Truman Show, you'll love this thriller. If you love Don't Worry, Darling, you'll love this thriller. I don't really want to go into the plot because if I tell you, like, it'll spoil it. So just know going in that it's a psychological thriller, and it's amazing, and it's intense, and it's awesome. I really enjoyed this. If you want kind of a more in-depth review, you can check my Instagram. Okay, then we have Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I gave this a 4.5 stars. I didn't love it as much as the first book. Now, you guys know me. I hate when fantasy books have a confusing world. That is like my biggest pet peeve. This series, the world makes absolutely no sense to me, but it's the vibes. Like, for some reason, this is the only exception. Like, I love this world even though I don't understand it, but I feel like in this book it got to the point where I was kind of like a little confused, which is why I was a 4.5. But I'm obsessed with Alex. She's one of my favorite FMCs that I've read about in the past year and a half. Like, she is just so awesome and just great, and I think that this one was really good. And I also love the writing in this series because it's vivid and it's so raw and beautiful. Like, these books are dark and the writing is also dark, but like, so good. Literally obsessed. I think there's a 3rd one coming out soon, and I'm very excited for that one. But yeah, again, very confusing world, but just vibes. I'm trying to explain the plot, but the plot literally just is vibes. If you love a good dark academia kind of cult style book, you'll really like this. It's like secret societies that are cultish with a little bit of magic involving like the undead, found family trope for sure. Leigh Bardugo is the queen of the found family trope. Like, she's so good with found family trope, and just cool magic, undead, ghost, cool stuff. That's pretty much all I can use to describe it. Then I listened to The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. This book is already a favorite of 2025. This book like fundamentally changed me. I think it is a beautiful book. It's a powerful book. Sherry is a fantastic writer. Like, writing top tier, but also the story itself is just so powerful. And I think that this is a book that everyone needs to check out. She makes it very clear that this is her story and not her sibling's story. And so I feel like if she were to go kind of more in depth into what happened with her siblings, that would definitely be pretty graphic. And there are moments where it is graphic, but I feel like it's definitely more about her story. And just, it's so beautiful, and I loved this book. It truly was just a masterpiece. This was a 5 out of 5 stars for me. Keeping the trend of 5 stars, we have Imogen, obviously, by Becky Alboretti. You guys saw me read this on my channel. I loved this book. It was hilarious. It was adorable. It was so moving. Also found family trope in the best way. And it's so easy to fly through because it's YA, but I think that everyone should read it. I think it is just so good. The romance is literally the greatest thing in the world. Like, it's such a slow burn, but like in the best way. And I love this book. I feel like if you're a big fan of like Alice Oseman and like the Heartstopper series, you'll really like this book as well. It gives kind of those vibes, but I loved this. Perfect. 5 out of 5. Okay, then I attempted to listen to You Will Find Your People by Lane Moore, and I DNF'd at around 25%. I got this on audiobook because I thought it was going to be a book about like how to be a better friend and how to sort of approach people and ask them to be your friend and just kind of be that confident person, because that's who I'm trying to be. Instead, this book to me felt very negative. It felt very like all of the friends that you have suck and they're never going to be the perfect friends that you want. And that was just like really discouraging, because like I don't think that way. And so I don't know if this book was just not for me or if other people were feeling similarly reading this, but I was just like, I don't like this attitude. I don't like this vibe. Yeah, not my fave. Okay, then I read The Otherwhere Post by Emily J. Taylor. This was a fantasy. I gave this a 4.5. This also was kind of like a dark academia fantasy. I really liked this. The world building was a little confusing, but like not too much that it deterred me from the story and made me hate it. But I really loved the characters in this one. I loved the world. Like, even though it was confusing, I found it fascinating. And I loved just the dark academia vibes. Like, if you love like magic school, this is the book for you. It's literally like magic school basically the whole time. Really cool, really awesome book. So highly recommend when it comes out to go check it out. Okay, then I read Our Year of Maybe by my girl Rachel Lynn Solomon. I hate to say this, but this is the first Rachel Lynn Solomon book that I have not given 5 stars. But I'm a strong believer in, even though an author is your favorite author and you love them, not every book they write is going to be a perfect book. That's how I felt about this one. It was good, but I feel like what lost me in this one was the characters. I hated how they acted. And I know it's YA and I know they're in high school, but there were just moments where I was like, surely you cannot be this dumb. Like, it just like they acted, both of them. Well, I guess it was more the female main character kind of acted like the whole world revolved around her, and that if things didn't go her way, she was going to spiral out of control in an emotional way and kind of emotionally manipulate people. I also just was very unsatisfied by the ending of this book, and I think that's kind of the point. I think you're supposed to be left kind of like, well, did they end up together or did they not? I did not support them being together personally. I cared a lot more about their own individual stories than them together as a couple. But basically, the brief story of this is these two childhood best friends. The male love interest has, I believe, a kidney problem. And so the female main character donates her kidney to him. And so he feels very indebted to her, and she was like, I hope he doesn't feel this way. And she also has like feelings for him. And so it's very complicated. There's kind of a lot of stuff that goes down in this book. But I gave it a 4. Like, I still thought it was good. I was just very frustrated with the characters at times. Okay, we are gonna have to like rapid fire through these next ones because this video is already so long. A Separate Piece by John Knowles. I was reading this for the English class that I'm helping teach for my practicum, since that's what they're reading. I gave this a 3 out of 5. Like, it was just okay. It was pretty boring at some parts, but I do think that the character analysis is what makes it good. Like analyzing the different characters and looking at their relationship and what went wrong and things like that, rather than the plot. And then also I read Lord of the Flies by William Golding because they read it last semester and they're using a separate piece to sort of compare them. And so I was like, I should read this too so I can join in on those conversations. I liked this. I think I've settled on a 4 for this book. I really liked it. I don't know, it got a little bit repetitive for me. But I did like it. I think it's a good commentary on like leadership and things of that regard, and rebellion and stuff like that, and fear. Oh my gosh, the theme of like fear in this book, so good. Yeah, so I've actually never read this. Fun fact, I never had to read this in high school, so it was a fun read. Yeah, so those were the 2 books that I read for the English class that I'm helping teach. I don't know what that sound is outside, but just ignore that. Speaking of books that I had to read for class, we have Ugly Me by J.E. Stamper. I had to read this for my education class. It's a middle school book. Like it's middle school reading level. Like I flew through it really quick. I liked this. Like I think I would give this like a 3.5 because like when you're reading it, you're very much like, oh, this is an educational book. Like this isn't like just like a little story that actually inadvertently teaches you a lesson. Like the lesson is very in your face, which again, I get why we had to read it for this specific class, but like if I were to pick this up and just read it at the library on a whim, I'd kind of be like, that message was a little in my face. But it was good. I think it's a book that all educators, especially if you're teaching middle school, should read. It's very good. So this is basically about a girl who just has a really rough home life, and some teachers at school are really good about it and help her and are great, and some people are like, this kid is horrible and they don't understand what's going on at home, and so they are not in tune to why she behaves the way that she does, and so that's why it's important for educators to read. But again, very in your face with the messaging, which it's supposed to be like that, but as someone who was reading it in an academic sense, that's how I felt. Yeah. Okay. Lastly, I don't know if this counts because I'm technically still reading it. Today is January 30th, so I'm racing to finish this book before the end of January. But that is Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. So far, I'm kind of disappointed in this one. The first one I gave 5 stars, and the first one took a little bit to get into the plot and the pacing, and so I gave this one the benefit of the doubt. But we are now almost 40% of the way through, and I'm still just kind of like, okay, the pacing is very slow, which I'm not loving, but I am loving the characters and the romance and the sort of like, I'm going to do anything to save her kind of mentality. So I'm leaning towards a 4 for this. But we'll see. Like it might get super crazy in the next half, so you'll have to go to my Instagram to see my full rating. But I will say I expected this to be more fast-paced and intense than it is right now. Hopefully it'll pick up. Hi, this is Monica from the future, where I am now 70% of the way through this book. I was so wrong. Okay, I will give it that it was boring at the beginning, but like, I'm sad. I'm fully sad. I'm giggling and kicking my feet. I'm screaming. I am so invested. I think this is definitely like a 4.5 because I can't get past that the first part was boring, but like this, so good. Literally like this series, perfect series. Like I'm obsessed. Okay, just wanted to add that in there. And that is my video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, make sure you are checking out my Instagram for full in-depth reviews of these books. I don't really know how to like describe what I post. It's just bookish stuff. And also check out my TikTok and my Red Note in the description below. And give the video a thumbs up while you're down there. Comment down below your favorite book that you read in January. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!